I'm Joaquin, your host, and this is the Football Corner reporting on the 2026 World Cup. Today, I'll be giving you a recap of the 21st matchday of this World Cup. The first game that we had in this matchday was a very entertaining win for England over DR Congo, a 2-1 victory for England that was quite a close game. This game was quite similar to England's games against Ghana and Panama. In the game against Ghana, they did tie 0-0, but eventually they won against Panama 2-0. However, the win against Panama and this win against Congo both games weren't convincing at all. They struggled a lot against three low blocks so far in this World Cup, and the only time that they did well was in the first game in Croatia, where Croatia were much more open since they were since they were trying to attack England more than the other teams that they came up against. However, in the end, Harry Kane came to the rescue just like he did against Panama, scoring two great goals. Especially the second one was fantastic. It's one of the goals of the tournament. How does he get that shot through four players and perfectly in the goal? The goalkeeper Impasi couldn't even move. And it's not that Impasi is a bad goalkeeper at all. He was having a great game as well. The only guy who has stopped Harry Kane so far at this World Cup has been the Ghanaian witch doctor, who said that he lifted the curse off Kane. It's quite apparent after him scoring against Panama and Congo. Mexico have to be careful because Kane will do a lot of damage. Some other points that I want to touch on this game are England's defense. Yet again, they were quite susceptible to counterattacks, and these DR Congo counterattacks were the best ones that they faced so far in this tournament. They were so effective and direct, and several times they got a good opportunities because England were pushing so many players forward to try to get a goal that they left many spaces in behind. And Sipenga, the goal scorer for DR Congo, it was actually his first ever international goal, so that's a nice milestone for him to have. However, even if Congo scored that first goal, they definitely should have taken their chances when they could have doubled their lead, because that could have really solidified their advantage and they could have defended that one until the end. But unfortunately, the biggest chance that they had outside of the goal was at the end of the first half, and Wisa came very close, hitting the post. But as shown later, in the phrase in Portuguese, quem não faz leva, which means the one who doesn't score will concede. And that is exactly what happened to Congo. Although they were pressuring this England defense a lot when England was playing out from the back, causing a lot of forced errors, and also Congo was defending so well and making it very hard for England, they seemed to get extremely tired in the last 20 minutes of the game, and that's exactly when both Harry Kane goals came. So Congo, they did show a good performance and they did show fight, but they couldn't take it to the end, and England were just the team with more stamina and they kept the rhythm up for the whole game. The England team is still far from perfect though. Outside of Kane, all of the attacking players couldn't have an impact. And don't let Anthony Gordon's two assists fool you too much because those goals were all Harry Kane. Although Anthony Gordon did play better than he played in the other games, he still hasn't shown to be such a good option. And Tuchel didn't seem to trust him too much, so Gordon actually started on the bench. Maybe he'll start next game considering that Rashford had a pretty poor performance. So that's it for this game. Mexico versus England at the Azteca will be a heck of a game. I'm very excited to watch that one because it could also be the outcome of the possible opponent for Brazil in the quarterfinal if we beat Norway. Hopefully we will. In the second game that we had in this match day, we had an extremely exciting game where Belgium beat Senegal 3-2 with a last-minute penalty in extra time. However, that penalty that was given was another questionable refereeing decision this tournament. I don't understand how that's a penalty because it was so soft. And the rule is that it has to be clear and obvious for it to be looked at VAR. And the referee was looking at it for around 5 minutes. He even added on so much stoppage time at the end for Senegal because he took so long on VAR. If taking 5 minutes is obviously not clear and obvious, why did he give the penalty? And even if he came in, I still don't understand how he came to the conclusion that it was a penalty because there was such minimal contact and Tielemans didn't even look like he would get to the ball. But outside from that, Senegal truly did deserve to lose because their collapse after the 85th minute was just terrible. They were having a 2-0 lead, completely in control in the game, but they just had some terrible game management. They didn't defend well, they kept pushing up to attack after the 80th minute, leaving so many spaces behind, and their playing out from the back was just calamitous. It gave Belgium so many chances. And Belgium didn't even end up scoring from that. They scored because Senegal kept giving them rebounds and second chances, and they let Belgium push up again and again and again. They were never able to clear the ball well, and their defense was completely overwhelmed by Lukaku. Before the game started, I was even mentioning how this Senegal defense hasn't been good the whole tournament, and even though the Belgium attack hasn't been fantastic either, that there still will be a problem for Senegal's defense. But throughout the first 85 minutes of the game, they were so solid. They were winning aerial duels, they were clearing the ball well. But when the 86-minute mark hit, something changed in them. It was so weird, and I have no idea how it happened. And I do think they missed their goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy, their first choice, because he got injured and they had to use their second choice keeper, Dio. Although Dio did make some pretty good saves in other games, this game he was quite poor, especially on Belgium's equalizing goal, where he let Tielemans jump over him and get a header. He came out of his goal so badly. But it wasn't just the end of the game for Senegal. The whole game they had opportunities missed, and just like Congo, they could have gone 3-0 up, but they didn't. And that allowed Belgium to come back and complete the comeback. There's a very important phrase in football that people say 2-0 is the most dangerous lead, and Senegal showed exactly why that is. But for Belgium, they were the complete opposite of Senegal. For the first 85 minutes, they were playing quite badly. They were playing the same exact way that they played against Egypt and Iran, where they were quite uncreative and they were cycling the ball so slowly. De Bruyne just didn't seem to have enough options to find the pass, and the only guy that could make a difference in the Belgium team, Jeremy Doku, was quite well marked by Senegal's defenders. So Belgium didn't have any ways to penetrate the Senegal defense. That all changed when Rudy Garcia made some important substitutions that some people criticized. He took off De Bruyne and Doku, but before that he brought on Lukaku. And Lukaku, just like he has been when he's been coming off the bench in this tournament for Belgium, was the difference maker. Not only did he score Belgium's first goal, but he also was such a nuisance for the center backs Niakate and Cis. He's just so strong and so good at doing some nice hold-up play that center backs from the other team always struggle with him. And if they put too much marking on him, he can just pass the ball back to another one of his teammates who will be open. And if they don't put enough players on him, he can just muscle off the defender that's on him. So he's been Belgium's best player this tournament aside from Courtois, who as per usual had a great game today and saved a nice shot from Mane which could have made it 3-0. Without Lukaku and Courtois, this Belgium team probably wouldn't have even made it out of the group stage. In the end, Belgium did deserve this win, but I don't like how the referee called that penalty in the dying minutes. That was a bit questionable. Now, the Belgium will play the co-hosts, the USA, in the round of 16. So that will be a very interesting game. The USA does look like the better team so far, but as shown in the 2-goal comeback in 3 minutes, Belgium can wake up and score some goals at any time of the game because they have dangerous players like Lukaku and Doku. So Mauricio Pochettino has to have a good game plan and has to have some good game management, learning from Senegal's mistakes. The last game that we had in this match day was the USA versus Bosnia, which USA took quite good care of this game, winning 2-0. Although the US did get a red card, which is yet another strange refereeing decision, because Balogun seemed to be looking at the ball, and it looked completely accidental, not to mention that it was Muharemovic, Bosnia's defender, who was the one who took him off balance when he was about to jump. So it was actually Muharemovic who kind of initiated the contact. So another refereeing decision that I don't agree with. especially when the Messi one against Algeria wasn't a red card. I'm quite surprised that this one was called a red card because Messi went with the intent of getting the ball, and I know he did not have the intent of hurting the player, but he did step quite obviously on the back of the player's leg. While Balogun didn't even initiate the contact, and he wasn't even looking at the ball. He wasn't even looking at the player. He was just looking at the ball, and the player kind of went under him, and Balogun landed on his ankle. So it's more of a freak accident than a red card, really. But talking about the actual football played in this game, the US completely outplayed Bosnia. Even though 2-0 isn't exactly an elastic scoreline, the US also got pretty unlucky scoring two offside goals, and they also missed some chances. The US this game weren't as good as they were in the other games, but they were still convincing enough to win. And it also helps that this Bosnia team just wasn't up to the challenge. Because the other games, their defense was so solid and they were so well positioned, making it hard for Switzerland in the first 70 minutes, and making it hard for Canada and Qatar the whole game. But unfortunately for them in this game, their defense seemed quite slow, out of position, and one of their biggest strengths for the whole team, winning aerial duels, especially on set pieces and corners, the US was better at that in this game. And I was extremely surprised by this, because that was Bosnia's biggest chance to score a goal, as shown in the goal that they scored against Canada in the first game, which was a header from a set piece. But the US in this game, they were not as good as they were in the win against Paraguay, but they were still good enough. And I find it very, very, very good that they were able to manage the game with a man down. When they went a man down at the 2024 Copa America against Panama, a team that's around Bosnia's level, maybe a little bit better, they completely crumbled and let Panama attack the whole game. And they ended up losing 2-1. But in this game against Bosnia, they picked and chose the right moments to attack. They held the ball well. They didn't lose the ball easily in their own half. And they even scored when they were down a man, with a good counterattack, winning a free kick close to the box. And Malik Tillman, who has been one of the US's best players this tournament. He's so talented, making great passes and dribbling. He scored a free kick, which is something quite rare to see nowadays. I've been noticing that not many players are scoring free kicks like they used to back in the day. In the end, the US deserved this win, but maybe they didn't look as good, and the attack wasn't as fluid, and the defense was a little shaky at the start. But they'll probably be back to their best against Belgium, and they'll be looking for revenge from the game in 2014 where Belgium beat them in the World Cup that was held in Brazil. I think that the US will be able to win this game, and it will be very nice to see a host country making it to the quarterfinals. So that's it for today. Do you guys think that Balogun should have been sent off? Drop your answer down below in the comments. Ciao!